All right, welcome to the Ravit Show. As you see, I am in the RightData office with Vasu and Siva. Just before the Christmas party starts to begin, I know we are already in the holiday phase, but as you see, the lovely artistic work that Siva has done behind. Uh, but love the work, and today here we are to obviously talk about the future of modern data, and we'll also be focusing a lot on the data observability around the data quality. So feel free to ask questions that you might have. We'll be taking in questions for Siva and Vasu here. Also, we can start with the introduction. Vasu, can you tell us more about yourself and Siva then?
Sure. Absolutely. Greetings, everyone. My name is Vasu Sattenapalli. I'm the co-founder, CEO, and chief architect for RightData. I'm a passionate data practitioner. I started my career about 24 years back, writing SQL programmers as a database engineer. Most recently, right before starting RightData, I was a senior vice president at Bank of America. I was actually responsible for leading analytics, planning, and forecasting teams on the
Nice.
finance team.
Okay.
That's me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Good evening, all. I'm SIVA KOLISETTI. I am the VP of Engineering and the IDC head for RightData at Hyderabad. I come from a technical background too. Along the journey, I am now, super passionate about delivering business value, right? At constant enablement through technology and data solutions. My most recent role was I was CIO for a large healthcare company. Ravit, maybe you should introduce yourself too.
I'm the host of the Ravit Show, and always love to bring the great insights from leaders like Vasu and Siva. So very nice to have you both. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Definitely, we'll have questions around it. But I have a lot of questions around data observability, around data quality, and just for the folks who are joining us online, I wanted to let them know that we have a whole team of RightData destroys sitting just behind us. I'll be definitely panning the camera towards the end of the show. But feel free to bring in questions that you might have for Vasu. Okay, let's go. Obviously, Vasu, you've had a big time career in the engineering. Like you have your amazing background in engineering. But I had a question around data engineering and how you have seen this space evolving in the last 3 to 4 years, and what do you see in the future. So if you could share those insights, would be very amazing.
Absolutely. See, from my perspective, this is the time for people in the data space, right? From a change perspective, there is a convergence that's happening of two engineering groups. So in the past, we used to have a group of data engineers, formerly managing big data platforms powered by Hadoop. So they are classically called as data engineers.
Right.
They are actually well versed with Scala, Python, Java, programming background to take care of data needs in the form of data lakes. Right. That's one group of people, data engineering people. The second group is enterprise data warehousing people. Right. Classically, they are well versed with SQL. They know how to do the data management, and they are more data guys. Right.
Right.
From my perspective, both has its own benefits. It's an exciting times where these two engineering groups are coming together, where we're trying to solve the common problems that have been addressed by these two solutions. That's an exciting thing.
Yeah, no, I think definitely you've just hit the nail right there. Where it's about solving those exciting problems, and we've been seeing that evolution in the last 2 to 3 years, 3 to 4 years, that we've seen so much. But that also brings me to something which is the talk of the hour, and I would love to learn more about data observability, data monitoring. I want to start with the basics, and then we'll get deeper into it, and we'll touch on more topics. But what are your thoughts around data observability and data monitoring? If you can define that for us. Yeah.
Yeah. There are quite a few definitions out there. And instead of me defining, I'm going to explain my perspective on data observability, right? The whole objective of the data observability is to provide trust on the data platform. That's the core objective, because you can put all kind of investment towards the data platforms. If the data is not right, the value that's going to come out of the data platform is not going to be right? And it's of no value. So the thing is, data observability is a new term that's been coined in the recent past. It has it's nothing new, but it has its own variations in it. Right? So in the past, it used to be called as a data quality control or a production data quality monitoring, but the need for the data observability has significantly gone up in the recent past. Which, yeah.
Definitely. Those are great, definitely great points there. Siva, what do you think about it?
So I think Vasu hit the nail on the head, right? The data space itself is evolving fast. The need for value that is delivered out of the data, that an organization has is tremendous. But let me just add on to what Vasu said. Let's try to visualize, right? What data observability itself is. Think of it as the availability of monitors and dials, much like the cockpit of an aircraft. There are data streams that are continuously moving from sources to destinations.
Right.
What is it that you have in your organization or that enables you to be able to say, where is my data at in flight, right? Where is it trending? Where is leakage? Where is something that has failed, right? That's exactly what the cockpit of an aircraft does, right? To be able to demonstrate your fuel gauge is something which allows you to see that, oh, I am going towards something that's failing. That's the trend, right? Anomalies of information itself. So I think essentially the problem has been there, right? It's not anything new, but it's the fact about how do we really conceive the idea of data observability, right? Many definitions, but essentially that. What empowers you to be able to look at your entire data flowing from sources to destinations?
I think those are definitely like first of all, great use case that you've bought. Now I'll always remember this example, Siva, that you've bought in. Definitely nice, interesting insights there. We also have a question here from the audience, and this is something around the same thing that we are discussing. So it's I'll bring it up here for the other audiences as well. So it's do you so the question is, do you have any use cases where monitoring and alerting systems are in place to identify issues with data quality or performance? Like maybe any use case that you could share, Vasu or Siva?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is already been done by our customers. So think of it like I have an ability to monitor the health of a person on a continuous basis, right? We normally go for yearly checks, probably, maybe every 6 months we do our checks. But what if there is a probe that's actually in our body and which gauges on a real-time basis how my various health indicators are? That's powerful. Right? So that's exactly what is happening in the industry, and then softwares like RDT and then other are competing companies, which I have tremendous respect for.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do the same, right? We're trying to actually provide a proactive approach to actually diagnose, identify, alert, notify on any kind of data leakages or data problems, so that data stakeholders can be more proactive about fixing those before it becomes too late.
Yeah, I think definitely that answers for Manisha there.
Yeah. So just one other part, right? One is identifying the issues, but the real value is to be able to say, what does this issue translate in terms of impact to the end? So that's why it becomes more important to be able to, monitor, to be able to understand, so you can act such that you always protect your business value.
Okay. Yeah, those are great points. Thanks for that. We have a tons of questions coming up, but before we get on to more questions, Okay, let's take one question more from the audience. This is interesting because it's coming from Scott Taylor. He's obviously the data whisperer. His title says so. So he's saying the title of the session is data quality and data observability. In that context of data quality, how does data observability compare to data governance? What's your angle there, Vasu?
So my point of view, data governance is a much broader spectrum, right? So it's a data governance is a bigger umbrella under which data observability, formerly known as data quality controls, are an integral part of it, a very important part of it, right? So data governance is being part of the data space for a very long time,
Right.
But data observability is a net new thing that has emerged because of the trends that are happening in the market, right? So to summarize, my opinion, data governance is a broader umbrella under which data observability is a integral component.
Okay. Those, yeah, definitely. That's like fair explanation to Scott's question there. Thanks for that. Also, in terms of when we are talking about solving problems, my question to you is, what do you think is the biggest problems for enterprises out there in terms of the data quality and the data reliability? Like, because you've been dealing with them day to day, you've been hearing, so, and I'm sure with different industries it's different problems, so I'm sure our audience would be interested to learn more about that as well.
Indeed, actually, the company RightData started with that same pain that we experienced in my previous gigs. And actually, we founded this company along with my co-founder Sridhar, experiencing the very similar problems at our prior clients. Right. We were kind of at the verge of uh, putting the project in a back burner, where because the users are not adapting to it and they don't trust the numbers, right?
Exactly.
So going back on your question, data quality or a data integrity checks is not a new problem or something that arises in the recent past, right?
Right.
But the importance of it, the criticality of it has gone up significantly because the complexities, the volume, and the veracity, right? These are the key drivers for a net new solution that would actually require customers to have a proactive way to identify these things,
Right.
versus in the past, they're either doing a spot checking or a manual data checks or some kind of a custom frameworks. There were some few tools available, but they're not really sophisticated enough to actually have anomaly detection, anomaly tracking, and powered by machine learning modeling. And these are the things that are net new things that are coming in the market, right? So which are very important.
And also saves a lot of time.
Absolutely.
So Siva, what's your take on that?
So the complexity, so maybe I just step back. Data is the new oil. Right? What that means is the amount of business decision making, staying competitive, right? Data is what you will rely on now and for the future even more. The complexity of trying to data itself is the number of sources. You have transaction systems, you have structured, unstructured, you have the pace of data, right? That is constantly instantaneous versus monthly to weekly, right? All of this ultimately, the complexity also adds when the different business functions are trying to look at information across to be able to make decisions. It's not just finance only trying to make. So
Right.
the complexity layers of trying to deal with data and mine out that value is just exponentially, increased. So what that really means is that you will need to establish that magic box which will completely organize your data, right? Where, and added to which is you should be able to trust what has been organized, right? So these two, getting it organized and trusting your data, is that magic, right? Where you can really derive value.
Right. I think yes, definitely. Trust your data is one of the biggest things that we've been listening from, the community, from the data engineers, and even the enterprise leaders as well. That we want to have that trust in our data, and that can only happen with where we have data observability tools who are doing our job. So totally makes a lot of sense. Time for another one. We have a few questions here. So one very interesting question here from YouTube that we got is, what is the difference between data observability and AI observability? So what's your take on that, Vasu?
Um, Data, think of it like a data observability is sitting on top of the data platform that's powering AI, right? So data observability is the foundation on which you are building AI models to make predictions, right? AI observability is slightly different. Observability on the AI and machine learning models that you have built are, because models are as good as data, right? If the data changes, the accuracy of the models is going to change as well. So having an observability on the accuracy of the AI models is AI observability. Meaning, if I build a model to predict predict fraudulent transactions, right? There are net new type of fraud that's happening in the industry. For say, the AI model that I trained is not able to catch, right? So immediately I know that, even though my AI model has missed it out, right? It missed out saying that this is a fraudulent transaction. So at that time, there is going to be a continuous watch on the accuracy of the AI model. That would let you know that the accuracy of the model is going down, so it's time for retraining, tuning, and then feed more historical data. So that's more of AI observability. But data observability is assessing the health of the data platform on a continuous basis so that that data is reliable, trustworthy.
Right. Okay. So that, obviously a very naive question from me as well. Just a follow up question with Daksh here. Do you think in the near future where companies like RightData will also provide AI observability as a part of it?
Absolutely. In fact, we are working on it because within our product Dexterous, which we'll touch on in a few minutes,
Yeah.
we have a machine learning studio that allows customers to build with the no code slash low code. They can build machine learning models.
Wow.
And also provide ML ops on top of it, which has a component of the observability on the machine learning models that you build and assess the performance of it. Absolutely, that's the future.
Okay. Wow. So pretty good question from Daksh. Thanks for that. Brings up a lot of insights. So my next question is definitely around the data observability and how important, what will be the importance of it in many enterprises. So where do you see with, how are, first of all, enterprises looking at data observability? Because in a lot of enterprises nowadays, we've been hearing about data observability, they are adapting it. But in the near future, where do you see it?
Actually, it's happening now. Definitely, there is going to be change. There's going to be much more maturity in the data observability that's going to be happening. Why is it important now, right? So if you look at most organizations in industries, they are trying to modernize the data platforms. As you modernize the data platforms, it's very important to have some kind of a validation check in place that my modernization process worked correctly. That's number one, right? Uh, Take an example, somebody is trying to migrate their data to Snowflake, right? So taking that plunge, that leap is relatively simple because they made it easier. But how do I know the data that's been migrated from my complex legacy systems is completed successfully, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be some kind of a validations in place that allows me to have a confidence on the process that I built, right? A migration
Exactly.
validation. That's a part of the observability for migration process itself. The second is all these legacy systems, they've been like Teradata's and SQL servers, they've been there for 20, 30 years. The consumers of the platform, they really rely on it because they've been time tested, right? So probably not having a thorough observability or checks and balances on that was okay because they've been using it, they trust them. Versus this net new investment that's done to migrate to snowflakes of the world, there is the element of doubt in consumers' mind. Are these numbers really right? Right?
Exactly.
Having it's not just a one-time, ongoing basis because there are completely the connectors are changed. In the past, probably your data is being fed from different ERP systems into my legacy enterprise data warehouse. Now I move to Snowflake. Right?
True.
As I move to Snowflake, and how I need to change my connectors right now. All the connectors that I have into the legacy EDW enterprise data warehouse has to be switched back into Snowflake. So which means I'm pretty much re-engineering my data ETL pipelines and data streams, etc.
Exactly.
So there is an element of risk that because this was done 10, 20, 30 years over the period of time.
True.
So now if you're trying to modernize, there is an element of risk that's involved. Having an observability on the pipelines and its quality itself is important. So data observability is not just monitoring the production data. It also includes the pipelines that I'm building, the code that I'm building to do the data transformations is reliable, trustworthy. So that's why there are multiple angles to this. Different companies handle it differently. Some people think, okay, it's just a production monitoring is a data observability.
Right.
My take, it starts from a development. So somebody is building a pipelines, and as I migrate to production, I need to make sure the code that I build is verified, validated, formerly known as ETL testing, transformation testing. That is a key part. And the same set of test cases that I created has to be, be part of my production process so that I have a continuous observability on the ETL logic itself. And of course, that's basically pipeline logic. The second is the data itself, right? So the data processes that's transforming data and the data itself. So both needs to be observed, both needs to be monitored. Right.
Definitely great insights. Thanks for that, Siva. Anything to add? I know Vasu has summed it up so well. Like he's gone into all the detailing and how it kind of works. But anything that you would like to add?
No, so I think it's elaborated
pretty well. Yeah, I agree. Okay, one question here from LinkedIn user, but I could see the name. It's Ravi. So Ravi is asking, what's a typical data observability life cycle look like? Very interesting question there.
The life cycle is continuous. Right? So observability, like the analogy that I have taken for, say, we are in a science fiction world and maybe 30, 40 years from now, we have ability to set probes in our body and then it's going to ping my health metrics, right? On a real time. That's exactly what it is, right? So the life cycle to me, it's a continuum, right? So once you actually enable observability on the data platform, it's like in health checks that you're doing on a continuous basis in a real time so that you get notified if there is any kind of issues or problems, you be proactive about it. So the life cycle is that. And like I was saying, it all starts from development, right? It's not just production monitoring. You have to start from development. You need to ensure the code that you're building that's feeding my data platforms are verified, validated, tested. Then once you go to production, you got to have a continuous monitoring of the pipelines and its logic, also the data itself.
Okay.
So it's a continuum.
Continuous. Okay. That answers for Ravi for sure. Okay. One last question here I'm taking before we jump on to the next one is here from Aditi. Does RightData have any necessary documentation and metadata to understand the context and the meaning of the data being collected? Like anything that you guys have documented already?
So, by the way, RightData has two products, RDT and Dexterous. RDT is data observability and data quality control and ETL testing product.
Right.
Whereas Dexterous is a data engineering product. So where you can actually build all the pipelines, models, etc. So within Dexterous, we have a component that would actually discover the data and profile the data, and also it assigns the domains for each of the data so that you understand it, right? So you can just, you don't need a metadata definitions. You just feed in the data. It will tell you what kind of domain it belongs to, and that would actually empowers the business users to, discover the data much easier and quicker. And it has capability to build the relationships, and there's quite a few interesting things out there.
Okay, pretty cool. Yeah, thanks for that. I'm sure it clarifies for Aditi about how, first of all, about the RightData and Dexterous. So thanks for that. Quickly moving on and shifting gears here a bit into something that we've been hearing a lot about, which is modern data stack. So, Vasu, what according to you, and this is my favorite question to all the founders because there are so many modern data stack that we've already seen, but according to you, what's an ideal modern data stack?
So, like many other, there's no one right answer to it, right? So
Very
I'm
true.
going to tell my version of it, right? Modern data stack is something that is equipped to take care of the net new problems that were introduced as a result of the data modernization, right? Data modernization actually, came with advantages, but it also has a lot of engineering challenges, right? So modern data stack is a set of systems that are equipped to solve the modern data challenges, right? So that's from modern data stack. But just to double click into it, to me, the modern data stack has three key attributes. So if for you to actually have a set of components as a modern data stack, it has to meet, to me, three criteria: agility. Uh, then the next is comprehensiveness, and third is yeah. So yeah, another one is the scalability, right?
Nice.
So more to do
Yeah.
with the performance, agility, scalability, and comprehensiveness.
Comprehensive.
So these are the three integral parts of the characteristics of modern data stack. So let me dig into agility aspect of it, right? So as you're actually modernizing the data platform, so one of the thing is you want to get a quick turnaround time in terms of getting decisions out of my data. So my data processes has to be agile, meaning my platform should cater to a real-time processing of the data so that as the changes happen in the business process, I get insights instantaneously so that I can gain insights into the data. Agility is a critical component, meaning in production, my data should be agile enough, fresh enough so that I can make a quicker decisions. That's
Right.
one part of it. There is a second angle to it from a development standpoint. All the data engineers of the world, there is another agility. The platform should be such that I don't have to wait for 1 month to turn around for a requirement, right? Now there is a fast pace, the business is changing at the fast pace. You got to react quickly. So you have to have a platform and software that is agile and nimble enough so that you can build these requirements, cater to these requirements and building these data assets quickly and deliver to the business. So that's from an agility standpoint. The second is the scalability, right? As we know, in the modern data world, volume and velocity is very high, right? So the systems has to be scalable enough so that it caters to the need of the hour. Sometimes maybe I'm processing a month end, right? As a financial systems, we serve a month end process. During my month end process, I may need a lot more horsepower. Remaining time may not be, right? So
Exactly.
the ability to scale out, shrink, that's an important aspect of it. And that's from a financial standpoint. Take the e-commerce and retail world, right? So there is, New Year or Christmas coming in. There is a bunch of sales. Thanksgiving just happened. Your systems has to be scalable to handle a particular event in the business, right? So the scalability is a critical component. The last but not least is the comprehensiveness,
Right.
right? The modern data stack and modern data management requires to handle different types of data. Number one, I'm dealing with structured data, which classically enterprise data warehouses used to, and then unstructured data, usually data lakes of the world used to, semi-structured data also in the same, right? So the systems that we have, the modern data stack should be comprehensive enough to cater to the different types of data sources, also
Right.
different type of data inputs. Some are coming as a stream via API, some are coming as a replication from a databases, and some could be just batching, right? So there are different types of data inputs that are coming. The modern data management tools should be capable to cover that comprehensiveness. And that's only for ingest part. And there is a whole bunch of other steps in the lifecycle management, including transformations, being able to prepare the data, predict the data, etc. All these are the various components in the data lifecycle journey, and modern data stack should be capable of handling most steps in my data lifecycle.
Okay, those are pretty cool insights, definitely. And I would, this is one of the most defined answers that I've got around the modern data stack. And I won't forget these 3 points: agility, scalability, and comprehensiveness. So, and you've put it very well. Thanks for that, Vasu. When we talk about modern data stack, there's another big topic that kind of comes is data as a product, and that's one of the curious topics that I'm always interested to learn about, and I'm sure even the audience. So for that matter, can you just tell us more about what do you think about data as a product?
Um, no, I'm glad you asked the question. I was going to prompt you ask the question. So data as a product. I mean, that's a very interesting topic. I mean, actually, for us as a company, we're investing heavily towards actually empowering our business users to turn their data assets into the data product, etc. Right. So going back on your question, data as a product, it's a way to think about, a way to look at the data, right? To me, so it's a way to think about and a way to look at the data. The difference between I have a good versus a product, right? I have something that I built. If I want to call it as a product, there are certain characteristics that it has to adhere to, right?
Right.
So to me, there are something called analytics ready data sets, right? We take a step back. If you take a data lake or a data warehouse, there are a whole bunch of tables in there. Some people may say, oh, every table is a data product. To me, not every table in a data warehouse or a data lake is a data product, right?
Interesting.
Very first characteristic of that particular, for you to call that or transform into a data product, is it should be analytics ready. Right? It should be consumable. If it's just like a table with a bunch of fields and it doesn't give you insights, it's not a product. It cannot be transformed into a data product. Right? It has to be analytics ready. There's a acronym in the industry called ARDs, analytics ready data sets. So those analytics ready data sets are ready to be transformed into data product. Right? So for you to transform that into a data product, now it doesn't just simply become a data product. You've got to attach the additional attributes into it. What are the additional attributes? There's something called active metadata and passive metadata. Meaning metadata, we all know, describing a data about data, right? That's a passive metadata. Active metadata, what fields I have, how many nodes I have, providing a basic descriptive statistics about the data. That's the second component of it. The third component of it, the freshness of it. You got to have attribute that indicates me that how fresh my data is. Is it late by 1 week or 1 day or 1 second? You got to have a
Very
freshness
important.
as an attribute, right? Besides that, lineage, right? It's
Lineage.
very important for you to understand backward and forward lineage. Once you actually transform ERD into a product, it has to have a capability to trace it back where it came from, trace, forward tracing to see who are all using it. That's the third one. Last but not least, you need to be able to transform the data product and reuse it as a microservice. So it's extremely critical that reusability is an integral characteristic or a basic characteristic of a data as a product. If you want to transform your data set as a data as a product or a data product, it has to be reusable, either in the form of exposing to the external world, shielding from a complexities of where it all came from, plus also you want to be able to expose as an API per se, so that you can consume any place you want.
Right.
So consumption, production, consumption. There are two angles to it.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is pretty interesting and great insights there. I know I was talking to Siva about data as a product, and he has interesting insights there as well. So, Siva, what do you think about it?
So, my take, right?
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of, I think, the workings of the data as a product, the definition of it. So, the minute we talk about a product, what comes to my mind is like being able to consume it, right? Today, let's just translate that to the real world. Maybe I'll introduce another, word also, which is the marketplace, right? So, data marketplace needs all these data products, much like what we're all used to in terms of a e-commerce marketplace. It's simple. All of us do shopping. We all look for the products, right? But essentially, for an organization to start deriving its value from the data itself, right? I think of it as a whole box of Legos, right?
Right.
You have the individual pieces, right? You have also semi-finished goods. I don't want to use product as data product and real product. You put a few things together to create a semi-finished product, right? A good, right? And you also create with the same pieces a consumable end product. Right? So in an organization, if you look at different base data sets of information, right? You're able to create all these different other layers which have value by themselves. Okay? So
Right.
data as a product classically was okay, can I consume it through a report and see some value? But now data as a product is multi-level where if there is finance organization that is creating a certain amount of base information, that can be consumed by supply chain to be able to integrate both of the information to derive more value.
Very true.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's, I think it is that approach where data becomes itself different platforms, but of course you can not discount the quality, the freshness, the speed, all of this with the data itself.
Yeah. No, I think 100% you guys have summed it up very well in terms of data as a product. And, we've learned a lot there. We have a few questions here from the audience as well. You want to add something?
Yeah, I
Siva?
just wanted to add, Vasu mentioned about product and product information. It's no different. A product that we go and then on an e-commerce. I'm just drawing the parallel, right?
Yeah.
Which is you want to see what's the user rating, which is very directly the quality and the usage, right?
Right.
Of that product itself. There is the specifications, which is where does it come from, what does it specify, all its technicalities. And it's also the lineage about this product, right? Forward and backward.
Right.
So very similar translation between what a data marketplace is and what the e-commerce marketplace is and what data as a product itself represents.
Definitely. Thanks for adding that point, Siva. So I was talking about a few questions here from the audience, and this one is interesting from Kiran. So Kiran is asking, who would be the owner for data observability? Is it the platform provider or the business team? And very interesting point, because most of the times it's like, the teams are kind of confused. If a CDO kind of comes in with an idea of data observability, then who will be owning this? And no better than, you guys to tell us about who will be the owners.
Absolutely. So data observability platform, there is always a two sides of a coin, right?
Right.
So one is producer, the second is
Consumer.
right? So who owns the data platform, data observability platform is the tech guys who actually establishes and creates alerts, anomaly tracking, scenarios, etc. And the consumers who are actually getting benefactors after the process is the business analysts and the business IT and then end users, right?
Okay.
So from a ownership perspective, like, you can ask the same question for a data lake, right? Or data warehouse. I'm building a data platform. Who are the owners of it? You can say my platform is owned by IT, but data itself is not owned by IT. Data is owned by business, right? So same thing in the data observability, the consumers and the benefactors, actually, unlike the data warehouse, in case of data observability, there are two benefactors actually, right? To me, there is a platform owner. As a platform owner, I'm building a platform. I want to make sure this platform is reliable, right? So I want to make sure if there is a problem, I want to get notified before my business comes and say, oh, I know this number is wrong.
Right.
So there is as a platform owner, I'm a benefactor, right? As well as a business user, this is my data. Basically, if I'm a finance user, I'm taking my data and you're hosting my data as a data platform owner. So data observability actually gives benefit to both people, data platform owners, as well as the business user. As far as the ownership of the software or ownership of the product itself, would rely on technology team.
Technology. Okay. Very, yeah.
That's what we see, at least from our customer base.
No, yeah,
We're
exactly.
selling to data platform owners, the benefactors, or
No, 100%. I think you you are the right one to answer about it, because it's it's basically where you are. You have customers, they're implementing it, and you've been seeing the success there. So 100% good take on that. Thanks for that.
I'll
Yeah.
just to add, right? I think this is very debatable in terms of the divide between IT and business.
Hmm.
Particularly with data, I think that line sort of blurs, right? As in who really owns. Vasu very nicely articulated about data itself being of business owners, but the entire infrastructure, the pipeline building, everything is of IT. I think there is a great opportunity. This comes back to the culture of a company. How do you define business in your organization, right? What is IT? Right? There are lots of organizations where you have the business IT too, right?
Exactly.
So I think maybe there is more specificity.
Shadow IT side.
Yeah, there are shadows ITs too, right? Which is it makes it even more interesting, right? So it really goes back to what is the culture of the organization and what do you define, right? But I really like the definition of Vasu, who simplified it, that the data itself is of business ownership. The entire rest of the infrastructure, the pipelines, the build, the platforms, all of that, right?
Right.
The framework, everything is potentially a technology ownership.
Okay. So that also brings me to a very close question around, about right data. First of all, we would love to learn a little more insights into right data, and then how is right data actually helping the modern data team and the data engineers? So just like a follow up to what we've just spoken about.
Sure. I'm going to give my pitch, right?
Yeah.
First of all, modern data platform is extremely complex, right? Not because the technology itself is difficult to implement, because there are so many small pieces that you have to stitch them together to make it happen, right?
Right.
So the whole vision of our company, RightData, is to simplify the complexities involved in modern data management, so that we can transition as a customer, we can help our customers in transitioning to the modern data stack or a modern data platforms. That's number one, right? Number two, as a company, we're deeply committed for a couple of things, emerging things. Number one, enabling that whole data mesh and data fabric.
Yeah.
Those are great frameworks in place, but the frameworks are as good as implementation, right? So you got to have a way to bring it to life, bring life to it, right? So we are deeply committed to actually deliver tangible product that actually can empower our customers to build the data mesh. The whole concept, actually, Shiva just stole my thunder. He talked about data marketplace. That's exactly. There are a couple of things that we're doing in that space, right? Number one, we are empowering the creators of the data mesh. So there are two sides to, again, the data mesh, right? Somebody who is producing it, somebody consuming it, right?
True.
So the people who are producing are the creators. So we got to give them a platform where they can take these ARDs, which you talked about, analytics ready data products, can add additional configurations so that it becomes a data product. And once you create the data product, that can be added to a data domain, right? So the domain ownership is another big thing in the data mesh and data fabrics. So being able to publish into a data domain, and that product that's been added to the domain can be made available on a data marketplace. Data marketplace is just like how Shiva explained it, is the e-commerce for data within an organization, not to be confused with the Snowflake data marketplace, which is used for cross-organizational sharing, which is a great thing, right?
Yeah.
But here, the challenge we're trying to solve here, various domains, various functional units within the organization, there is a lot of duplication of the effort. There is a lot of duplication even within an EDW. There are different components with significant overlap, right? It's okay to have a duplication as long as you know purposefully you're duplicating it, right? So you are being blindsided, not knowing and creating a duplicate is a bad thing. knowing that there is something exists, but it doesn't meet my 100% needs, I'm going to create a duplicate. Providing the transparency is important. So with the data marketplace, we are enabling where users can actually, the creators can create the products and publish into marketplace. Consumers can come in and search for it as if you went to Amazon and search for the products. You can search for the data products, understand the descriptive statistics of it, get a preview of it, get the freshness of it, all the properties, so that is this the right thing for me? If it is, you subscribe to it. Once you subscribe to it, the domain owners can actually give you permission to consume it. So you can repurpose for your business need instead of recreating from the scratch.
Okay.
Which is the whole nirvana state of the whole enterprise data warehouse. We want to have a centralized. The problem with the centralization is it's going to slow things down. We're trying to get to a state where best of both worlds, right? So we want to enable that whole data marketplace to do the very same. Right? So that's one. Last but not least, we are also adding a component called Dataverse. Dataverse, think of it like a experience layer on top of my data, on my data marketplace. So for say, as an organization, I may have a 10,000 data products. If you want to visualize that, there's no single place to it. So the way we are visualizing it is a Dataverse is a universe, and all the galaxies are domains. Within the galaxies, all the celestial objects are products. So we are providing an experiential layer where you can clearly see all the data products that you have clustered within various domains. You can zoom in, you can zoom through, and provide an experience layer so that you can search. Your search becomes much more intuitive and easy. So there's a lot of exciting things that are happening within our company. And of course, we cover all the bases in terms of the data management. We are unique that way. Our goal is to simplify the modern data management, being a comprehensive company. With our product, you can simplify the whole ingestion part, all kinds of ingestion. We can do transformations. We can load into different cloud or on-prem. Also, we can do the data preparation using an ad hoc data preparation. Finally, doing the data predictions and machine learning modeling. Not to mention, we have this data quality and observability, which gives confidence on my data itself. So we are one-stop shop for the data owners, CDOs, and we are going to be the company which is going to be simplifying the whole modern data stack.
Very cool. I think more than that pitch, it was more about the education that you've given us and what you're gonna build. So Vasu, all the best on that. Siva, what would you like to add?
I just wanted to add just another side tangent also, but very important. We keep talking about business value, right? Where the business is able to drive and deliver,
Right.
Get value out of it. But if you start looking at even the technology ownership, right, there is the cost of ownership, there is infrastructure management, right? So it becomes even more important from a dataverse standpoint to have a complete oversight of what all do I have, right? What's my cost of ownership? What's my cost of operations of that, right? And how am I, clear sight of how am I enabling business constantly, right? So I think there is definitely, even from a technology spectrum, using the same platform as much as business derives values. Also, if you look at technology ownership, is to be able to say, yeah, I have control over my entire environment and what it is providing, right? So there is that value also that automatically comes.
No, I think with the business side, Siva is killing it. I think you know the game very well. So thanks for that, Siva. One quick question here. Actually, it was my question, but someone has picked that up. Is around some use cases of data issues, notification, and remediations on RDT. Can you share any of those?
Okay. So I'm going to try and best represent, right, all the work that this team has put.
Yeah.
Right? You can add on. I want to start with our win today in the market is we have about 42, 45 logos, right? Large companies, Fortune 50, Fortune 100. And, you should check us out on the website too. We are clearly industry agnostic. right? Adding value in the different spaces. Yeah. So maybe I'll try and pick one or two to be able to illustrate, right?
Yeah.
Fundamentally where the win is. So maybe I have two that comes to mind. One is a large 300,000 plus employee company, large business and technology consulting organization.
Hmm.
So this consulting organization obviously has a lot from internal operations to be able to get information from multiple sources, enable all of that to be able to distribute it out back to the different partners, right? Not just partners, but ultimately from an operations standpoint.
Right.
So pre RDT coming in, they had a ton of manual work, right? That really would frustrate because I think it is obvious by now that a lot of manual work will take time and there is scope for a lot of leakage or not understanding of information.
Right.
So there comes RDT, this implementation where we've been able to sort of create that data trust platform that enables them, right, completely to be able to now have clear sight of what are the source systems and what's the information, right, that comes out. And trusting that information is key, right? Not just being able to manage that. So I think the ability to be able to smoothen the operations and be able to say, yeah, the end product of the information that is consolidated, right? Tremendous win. So numerous amount of dollars, probably in the millions, and huge amount of hours, and essentially trusting your information. And knowing that whatever is coming out is good value. That's been a huge win. Maybe another example, medical technology services organization, right? They they've had what their Delta Lake, right? Self-service Delta Lake, which is powered through SAP and multiple other sources, right? This Delta Lake is their self-service analytics platform. Their need was around how to really automate their entire DevOps process, the ETL testing and all of that.
Nice.
So the ability of RDT, the data trust solution, RightData has now been able to automate the entire segment, right, as an integrated solution.
Right.
That has redefined their ability to be able to sort of create a strong governance over that.
Exactly.
Right? So it's now you have a tool that will aid you to be able to say, okay, how do I run my DevOps on this whole solution? So orchestrating the entirety of the whole DevOps piece for them has been a tremendous win, right? Millions of dollars saved. And we continue to win different divisions within that organization itself across the geography. Right?
Wow.
So pretty powerful story, right? I might have not represented thing very well, right? But I think the story that what really is a matter of pride and excitement is the fact that we're industry agnostic and we're winning. We're winning in all these places to be able to deliver that value.
Yeah, I think that's the hard work RightData team is doing. So clearly, you've summed it up very well there. And thanks for that question, Ravi. Ravi actually says, nice to meet you all, and thanks for taking all the questions. Ravi is from Hindocha. Ravi Hindocha is from Woketo, actually. So thanks for joining, Ravi, and asking those questions. Quick question in terms of, I'm just being careful of time. I know we ran over, but this discussion, I don't think we do it every day, and I can go on for another hour, but I'll keep it short. And
we can go for a couple of days.
So, Vasu, Siva, what do you think data observability? Where do you see it going in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. So to me, we are just at the very, very early stages of the adoption, right? Not if you think about overall data industry, even the deep data practitioners, not many people even understand data observability. It's a new thing. But what is important to understand is it's not a a new animal, right? It's something already there, but the complexity that is being posed at us from
Right.
a modern data stack perspective, it's increasing the importance in an exponential basis,
Yeah.
right? So where it is going from a data observability perspective, from as an industry, they we have a lot of innovations around the AI and ML, right? All these product companies, including us, we are becoming more and more smart so that we can provide insights into the health of their data platform on a much more efficient way, right? So number one, making the products smarter every day, so that you get insights into the health of the data platform.
Exactly.
That's one key thing that's happening, and adding a lot more advanced analytics and machine learning modeling on top of the data, the product itself,
Yeah.
which is going to make it more smart and smart, right?
Right.
So I think I'll add one more part to this: augmented data quality, right? So observability is good. Augmented, there is another angle to the data quality. One is observability typically is being used in the notion of a technical checks, right?
Right.
It is also important to have a business validations,
Right.
So RDT product today, most of our customers use our product to actually do the rule-based validations,
Right.
Adding on top of it, making it more scalable by adding an augmented data quality so that the system will recommend rules is going to be the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So the whole idea here is a rule-based data quality checks not going anywhere. It's critical. It should be there,
Right.
and add on top of it augmented data quality is going to make it much more richer. And not last but not least, anomaly detection, anomaly tracking of the health of the data is going to be the third one. So these are the three areas. There is a fast-paced evolution and innovation that's happening,
Yeah.
including us. We are investing heavily. It's going to be beneficial. It's going to be great benefit for the industry.
Yeah. Siva, any thoughts?
You know, I think Vasu called it out earlier too, that the data observability is a newer definition, but the problem, the need has been there, right? Maybe like I've been going through the session itself, just from a visualization standpoint, can you imagine an aircraft without a cockpit?
Difficult.
That's case in point.
Right.
So many moving parts, so many references, right? How do I stay on top of, making sure the aircraft does its job going from, from point A to point B? That's the
Right.
purpose, right? So I think, and that whole data observability is to ensure that you hit at the target.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not a choice. Data quality is not a choice. It becomes even more evident as we go into the future.
Very true.
Yeah. Would you accept an online maps giving you 90% accuracy of going from point A to point B? You
Not
wouldn't live
possible.
with it, right?
Yeah.
You want to change your app or you want to switch to something else, right? So I think that is just inherent. That the reliance on quality of data just every day into the future becomes even more important, and immediately right by that comes data observability's importance.
Yeah. Interesting insights, and thanks for those amazing points, Vasu, Siva. Actually, for our audience, I would love to show, like, give them a quick sneak peek of the amazing Right Data team that we have here. Like a quick hi, if we can do that to our audience who have been joining us live. But here we go. So this is the cool team. Thank you very much for working so hard and getting through. And yeah,
Just want to add one. So this is partial team. So we have a team in the US. And
Yeah.
I just don't want to leave them out.
Yeah. For sure. Okay. Vasu, Siva, once again, thank you very much for coming on the Ravit Show. And we'll definitely have another chat, another new, I'm sure there are many more products which are coming out. So we'll be talking more about it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Looking
Thank you
forward
very
to
much,
hearing
everyone.
more. Yeah.
Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah.